Thank you, Senator Norris. Senator Bacik.
To hear my words.
Senator Bacik.
And just to welcome the Minister to the House and to speak briefly on these 5 amendments. I think Senator Norris has spoken most eloquently, and I absolutely share his views and I absolutely oppose these amendments. I think that the effect taken together of the 5 amendments, and indeed there are internal contradictions, very serious contradictions between the amendments themselves, but taken together they would seriously undermine the very careful framework that's set out in Section 5 and 25 of the bill concerning donor-assisted human reproduction, and in particular the issue of parentage. And if one looks at Section 5, which is the section which the first 2 amendments, Amendments 2 and 3 are aimed at, Section 5 clearly sets out for the procedure for ensuring that a child born through DAHR will have a second parent. A mother, spouse, civil partner or cohabiting partner will be the second parent through the process described in the provision. So it's a very important provision for children born in this way. And I think, in absolutely rejecting Senator Mullen's comments on DAHR, I would say this, that I think his view seems to be against DAHR altogether. Although listening to him, I'm not even clear what his view is, because he seemed to suggest that AHR, assisted human reproduction itself, was, he would agree with, once there was no donor egg or sperm involved. And I think he's also very seriously misrepresented law in other jurisdictions, because certainly looking back at the Commission on Assisted Human Reproduction report, they did a review of quite a range of jurisdictions and found that in general jurisdictions they had looked at permitted the donation of both sperm and eggs, obviously subject to particular conditions within a regulatory framework. And I suppose the important point to make is that the amendments undermine the careful framework in Sections 5, 25 and the rest of the bill concerning regulation of DAHR. Currently, DAHR in Ireland is unregulated. So what Senator Mullen appears to favour is a free-for-all, is a situation where this issue is unregulated. And this is a denial of reality, because of course we know there are many thousands of couples, mostly straight and married couples in Ireland today, who have turned to AHR or DAHR because they have struggled with the human tragedy of infertility. And all of us know people who have struggled with this. And it's a real tragedy for people. And AHR, and in some cases DAHR, donor-assisted human reproduction, offers to them the prospect of becoming parents. And for people who are proponents of children's rights, I cannot see how they can oppose, in principle, AHR or DAHR within a carefully regulated framework such as is set out in sensible fashion in this bill. And I think it's really disrespectful, distasteful and objectionable, not only for those parents but also for the many children living in Ireland, and indeed adults, who were born through AHR or DAHR and who are alive and well. So it's a denial of reality to suggest we shouldn't legislate on this issue. This is legislation that's sensible and careful, that recognises human reality, recognises the reality Senator Norris mentioned, whereby 36% of births are outside marriage, and that is child-centred because it recognises the rights of children. We'll come, I know, to the amendments on the issue of identity, but that's also hugely important in terms of prospectively legislating against anonymous donation. So again, there's been a very careful genesis to this legislation. Senator Mullen referred to that also, and I would refute his comments. I was part of the Justice Committee consultation process. We held a very careful consultation with hearings from people for and against, but mostly for this bill, because there is a general welcome across society. Most people in Ireland who share a common sense of humanity and a sense of reality support this bill and the sensible measures in it. We heard from them in the Justice Committee, and indeed we've had the consultation the Minister spoke of yesterday and the lead-in period to the bill. So I would refute Senator Mullen's comments, and I know I speak from my colleagues on the government side on that.
Thank you, Senator Bacik.